Welcome back to the channel, the place where you improve your English through real stories from history. Today, we're going to talk about a queen who had everything and lost it all. This is the story of Marie Antoinette, level B1, intermediate. Remember, after this video, you can practice everything you just heard. I'll leave a link in the comments to a free PDF with vocabulary, exercises, and questions about today's story. Let's begin. It was a cold morning in Paris. The date was October the 16th, 1793. The streets were full of people. Thousands of them stood together, waiting. Nobody spoke very much. The air was cold and the sky was gray. A wooden cart moved slowly through the crowd. Inside the cart sat a woman. Her hands were tied behind her back. Her hair was short and white, though she was only 37 years old. Her white dress was simple, nothing like the beautiful gowns she once wore. The people in the crowd shouted at her. Some threw insults. Some just stared in silence. This woman was once the most powerful woman in France. She lived in a golden palace. She wore diamonds and silk. She danced at parties that lasted all night. Now she was going to die. Her name was Marie Antoinette, Queen of France. But how did a queen end up here, in a cart, on her way to the guillotine? To understand this story, we need to go back to a different country, a different life, and a 14-year-old girl who had no idea what her future would bring. Marie Antoinette was born in 1755 in Vienna, Austria. She was the daughter of the Empress of Austria, a powerful woman named Maria Theresa. Marie Antoinette grew up in a huge palace with many brothers and sisters. She loved music. She loved to dance. She was not a serious student. She preferred to play instead of study. But this didn't matter much, because her mother already had a plan for her future. In the 18th century, royal families often used marriage as a political tool. A marriage between two royal children could create peace between two countries. And that is exactly what Maria Theresa wanted for her daughter. Austria and France were old enemies. For years, the two countries had fought wars against each other. Maria Theresa believed that a marriage between her daughter and the future King of France could finally bring peace. So, when Marie Antoinette was only 14 years old, her mother arranged her marriage to a French prince. His name was Louis, and one day he would become King Louis XVI of France. Marie Antoinette had never met him. She didn't speak fluent French. She had never even visited France before. But in 1770, she left her home in Vienna forever, and she traveled to a new country to marry a stranger. Let's stop and look at a useful phrase from this part of the story. To arrange a marriage. This means to plan and organize a marriage, usually not for love, but for other reasons: money, politics, or family connections. Example: in the past, many royal families arranged marriages between their children. Try to remember this phrase. You will hear it often in stories about history. Now, let's continue. When Marie Antoinette arrived in France, everything was different. She had to learn new customs, a new language, and a completely new way of life. She lived in the Palace of Versailles, one of the largest and most beautiful palaces in the world. Versailles had hundreds of rooms, golden decorations, and enormous gardens. Thousands of people lived and worked there. But life at Versailles was not easy for a young girl from Austria. The French court had strict rules for everything: how to eat, how to dress, even how to walk. Every action of the young princess was watched and judged. At first, Marie Antoinette felt lonely. Her husband Louis was shy and quiet. He preferred to read books and repair clocks rather than spend time with his new wife. For years, their marriage was distant and cold. To fight her loneliness, Marie Antoinette found comfort in other things. She loved fashion. She loved parties. She loved beautiful clothes, elegant hairstyles, and expensive jewelry. Soon she became famous across Europe, not for her intelligence or her political skills, but for her incredible style. Every dress she wore became a trend. Every hairstyle she created was copied by other women. But this fame had a dark side. While Marie Antoinette spent enormous amounts of money on clothes and parties, most people in France were poor. Many families didn't have enough bread to eat. And slowly, people began to notice the difference between the Queen's rich lifestyle and their own hunger. In 1774, Louis's grandfather died, and Louis became King of France. Marie Antoinette, at just 18 years old, became queen. As queen, Marie Antoinette continued her love of luxury. She built a small private village near Versailles called the Petit Trianon, where she could relax away from the strict rules of the court. She spent huge amounts of money on this project. The French people started calling her Madame Deficit, a nickname that connected her directly to France's growing money problems. Many people believed, wrongly, that she was the main reason the country was losing money. In reality, France's financial troubles were much bigger than one queen's spending. Years of expensive wars and weak leadership had already put the country in debt. But Marie Antoinette became an easy target for public anger. Let's look at this phrase, an easy target. This means a person who is simple to criticize or blame, often unfairly. Example: because he was new to the company, he became an easy target when something went wrong. Now let's continue the story, because things are about to change forever. There is a famous story that Marie Antoinette once said, "Let them eat cake," when she heard that poor people had no bread. Many historians today believe she never actually said this. But true or not, the story spread across France, and it made people hate her even more. Then, in 1785, a new scandal appeared. It's known today as the Diamond Necklace Affair. A group of criminals used the Queen's name in a scheme to steal an extremely expensive diamond necklace. Marie Antoinette had nothing to do with the crime, but many people believed she was guilty anyway. Her reputation, already damaged, became even worse. By this point, the French people no longer saw her as their queen. They saw her as a symbol of everything wrong with the country: waste, luxury, and a total lack of understanding of ordinary people's suffering. In 1789, everything changed. The people of France had suffered for too long. They were angry about hunger, unfair taxes, and a government that only helped the rich. This anger finally exploded into a revolution. On July 14th, 1789, a crowd of angry citizens attacked a prison called the Bastille. This event marked the beginning of the French Revolution, one of the most important events in world history. At first, the royal family stayed at Versailles, hoping the situation would calm down. But it didn't. In October 1789, a huge crowd of angry citizens, many of them women, marched to Versailles. They forced the king and queen to leave the palace and move to Paris, where the revolutionary government could watch them closely. Marie Antoinette understood the danger. In 1791, she and her family tried to escape France in secret. They disguised themselves and traveled at night, hoping to reach the border and find safety. But their plan failed. The family was recognized in a small town called Varennes, and they were stopped before they could escape. This failed escape destroyed any trust the French people still had in their royal family. Now many people saw the king and queen not just as unpopular rulers, but as traitors. People who wanted to betray their own country. Let's pause here. A useful word here, a traitor. This means a person who betrays their country, group, or friends, especially by helping the enemy. Example: in the story, the soldier became a traitor when he shared secret information with the enemy. After the failed escape, life became much harder for the royal family. The revolutionary government took away their power completely. In 1792, France officially became a republic, and the monarchy ended. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette were arrested and locked inside a tower called the Temple. Later, Marie Antoinette was moved to a small, cold prison cell in a building called the Conciergerie. In January 1793, Louis XVI was executed by guillotine. Marie Antoinette was now a widow, alone in prison, waiting for her own fate. The revolutionary government put her on trial in October 1793. The court accused her of many crimes: treason, wasting the country's money, and even crimes against her own children. Many of these accusations were false or extremely exaggerated. But by this point, the trial's result was already decided. The judges wanted her dead, and no defense would change that. On October the 16th, 1793, the court announced its final decision. Marie Antoinette was guilty, and she would be executed that same day. And so we return to where our story began. The wooden cart moved through the crowded streets of Paris. Marie Antoinette sat inside, her hands tied, her white hair short from months in prison. Witnesses later said she looked calm, not afraid, just tired and ready for it to be over. When she arrived at the guillotine, she accidentally stepped on the foot of her executioner. Even in her final moment, she turned to him and said, "Pardon me, sir, I did not do it on purpose." Then at 12:30, the blade fell. Marie Antoinette, once the Queen of France, was dead. Marie Antoinette's story is not simply the story of a bad queen, as many people believed at the time. It's the story of a young girl, sent to a foreign country at 14 years old, who never truly understood the world she was thrown into, and who became a symbol for problems that were much bigger than herself. Historians still discuss her today. Was she truly guilty of destroying her country's economy? Or was she simply the easiest person to blame for problems that already existed long before she arrived in France? That's the end of today's story. I hope you enjoyed learning about Marie Antoinette while practicing your English. Don't forget, practice makes perfect. Check the link in the comments. Download your free PDF and do the exercises for this episode. When you're done, come back and tell me in the comments, how many did you get right? See you in the next story.